I don't think the rest of the band probably want me to say that.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. The band Ward 16 definitely started to make some waves in the UK in the last few years. This band of misfits brings us a happily deranged mix of any kind of music you can think about, but it works really well. They have a new album out right now, and I was lucky enough a few days ago to talk to them. We had a couple of bandwidth issues, but I guess that's what happens when you try to contact inmates in Whittingham Asylum. Alright, so Psychoberrie and Dr. von Stottenstein, thank you so much for your time today. New album is coming out very soon now. That must be exciting. How are you guys feeling?
A bit nervous, but excited all the same. I think we're still actually sat here waiting for the CDs to arrive and hoping for the best, but really on edge, to be honest.
Yeah, we finished recording the album in March. We've been sitting on this album for quite a while. We're just really excited now to actually be on the brink of releasing it and seeing how people like it. We've had some good things with it so far.
There's a lot to unpack on this album, not just from the music or the story. There's really a lot going on. But before we dig into the new album, I'll take a few steps back. For those people out there that are unfamiliar with your first album, which was, I believe, called The Art of Manipulation, we were introduced to the UK's most charismatic serial killer, Psychoberrie, on that album. For the people that are unaware with the story, can you recap what people should know?
Yeah, The Art of Manipulation. Well, it starts with a psychiatrist who's interviewing Psychoberrie, and then it goes, she's on a psychiatric ward, and it goes back in time to when she manipulates a man into killing just for her own kind of twisted entertainment.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Yeah, so it's played through the eyes of almost like a confessional session between a patient and a doctor, isn't it?
Yeah, we dip in and out of the questions with the psychiatrist throughout the album.
So there's a lot of narrative flowing through it and going back in time and seeing her story through the eyes of not just herself, but her victim as well.
So a question that I have, I find myself at times rooting for Psychoberrie and like being on her team, but that is also a scary thing to think about. Could we look at Psychoberrie as the hero of the story, or is she really the villain?
Well, it's kind of intentional to get people with the second album to maybe feel sorry for Psychoberrie. Because with this album, we're going back to the beginning. It's following the timeline of the psychiatrist and what questions he's going to ask next, and he wants to find out why she is the way she is.
I think it's fair to say that a lot of people got to know you guys through the Metal to the Masses competition, and which resulted in you guys playing the Bloodstock Festival in the UK. You know, was that the biggest highlight for you guys, or what are some of the stand-up things of the last few years?
Oh, well, that was probably one of the biggest highlights for it. Like, we were first on that day at 10:30 AM, so we were worried that no one was going to turn up, and as soon as they opened the barrier, there's a stampede of people coming towards us, so I don't think I could ever top that kind of...
Yeah, because it was unexpected. That was a definite highlight out of a lot of things that we've done, but it also gave us an idea of what we could do going forward in the future in regards to scale.
You know, you guys bring a very vivid and a very varied mix of music. You know, you can have very heavy guitar riffs, there's accordion and humpa music as well. Yeah. Where do all your inspirations come from?
Well, all of us have just got quite an eclectic taste in music, and I think when I was setting the band up especially, I particularly looked for people that didn't have the same taste in music as me, because I wanted it to be different. I don't know, all sorts really, from rock and metal, rap and dance music as well, which is all brought in. And then
and Martin from South Music, who plays the accordion, he's got quite an eclectic taste in music of Eastern European, Bavarian type music as well, which did feed into the style and made it a little bit different. I go back to early Iron Maiden, Halloween, Alice Cooper, and you like Alice Cooper as well, but also a lot of 80s rock, a bit and progressive rock. So Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, something with a bit of a really big broad sound. We all brought different styles and and I've been in different bands before where I'd had to play cover versions, so playing Pink and Madonna and Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses and ska and other types of music that, although you don't necessarily enjoy playing it, when you're playing it, it does allow you to have a broader palette when you need to play something a little bit different.
So how would you describe Ward 16 to somebody who's never heard it before?
This is one question that we always struggle to answer. We landed on avant-garde theatrical rock as our genre, I think, because avant-garde is just kind of a cop-out, really. I think the way we kind of look at it is we decide what the story is and then what music we need to mimic the story that we're telling. For instance, with this album, we're opening with the music box, like, because it's going back to childhood, so I really wanted to get that childlike feel to it. So
we've gone as quite symphonic with this album compared to the first album. We had elements of symphony in the first album, but I think it was a lot more punky. To me, it reminds me of when you compare this, the first album to this album. It's like the original Iron Maiden first album, and then Seventh Son, and there's a difference in the almost like the sound, but you know it's still the same band.
Yeah, it's one thing I've always said with this album. I said it needs to be dark. We're not a heavy, fast band, so there's not a lot of moshing and crowd surfing and things like that. They tend to dance a little bit, but watch as well, so we have to bring something else different to the music to keep them entertained visually. Yeah. Because we've not only played a lot of really good festivals, we've toured with some really good bands, or we're friends with really good bands now, where we've drawn influence from them and developed our own musical. We've seen and played bands that we've never seen before, and listened to styles that we've never necessarily listened to before that we've liked, and we've almost absorbed different things that we've seen and heard into what we want to do.
If you go for a very varied musical spectrum, you also need to rely on Psychoberrie to have a lot of different styles of vocals that you can tackle. And there's a lot of different styles coming out. I don't know if that's just me, but I thought I picked up some Sinead O'Connor's Troy in Mr. Babadook. For you personally, who do you think have been like your main influence when it comes to singing style? Because you do so many different things. I was
a bigger fan of Pink when I was growing up. I'm also the rockier type singer. I like Lizzie Hale. I'm like a big fan of her. But there's quite a few male singers that have influenced me as well, like Miles Kennedy, because especially with the first album where we had a lot of the softer vocals in there. And then there's things like, I always listened to Eminem growing up, and you can actually hear that in the I'd say the kind of layout of some of the lyrics in the rhyming patterns. You can hear that. I don't think the rest of the band probably want me to say that.
This is up, Eminem. Let's I am actually impressed by your vocals and stuff.
Thank you.
Positive encouragement from the band.
Melody lines were written out first, and then the music was built upon it. So I think there's a lot more. It's the album's built melodically and what your voice suits, rather than the other way around, where we're just all jamming in a room and then we come out with the structure of the song and I go, okay, now you sing.
Yeah, I had a singing teacher as well, and she kind of taught me that it's not necessarily always about like the range that you can hit. She said what really makes a song stand out is the emotion in it. So really, when you're singing it, if you're singing a song, think of like the saddest thought you can, and then emphasis, and then she said highlight the the words in the song that you need to emphasize and really focus on them. And by actually just bringing the emotion into it, it creates something. It's not just about having technical skills. I think.
Two songs that that have a lot of emotion. That I've had the chance to listen to the album. Broken Toys and Imago were for me really standout songs. I know that you said you've finished the album in March. Have you been able to take some distance from the album already, and you can look back and say like, this is my favorite, or is it all just still too new? And
I've purposefully not listened to it, and I don't want to till I get the CD in hand. I think we're all talking about like we want to bring out a fourth single, but we can't really agree on which song. And when we ask other people who have heard it, everybody's got a different favourite. There's no one song that stands above the other.
I'm the opposite. I've not listened to any other music other than the album, but I get quite emotional listening to some of the songs because of how we've written it, or what the memories of how we've written it or recorded it, or actually how you've delivered some of the vocal lines, or there's a certain note that I play on the guitar which I go, oh, I like that.
In this album, we're gonna explore the youth of Psychoberrie and what happened in her life to become who she became. That is also nicely represented in the artwork. On those two albums now, we've learned a lot about Psychoberrie. Other members are a little bit more of a mystery to us still. Are we gonna dig into the lives of the other band members as well in the future?
We could have spin-off albums like on Star Wars. So like instead of a Han Solo album, there could be a Stottenstein album.
Not just in albums, but you mentioned before that with the Bloodstock show really was taking you guys to a next level, not just from recognition, but also what you can do with the stage show and make it everything bigger. The story would lend itself very nicely to other ideas as well, whether it's books or comic books or even movies and what have you. I know that you guys are, as a band, really only getting started in the bigger picture as second album, but are those things that you were already actively thinking about?
They're things that I really want to do. I always imagined in my head when I'm having my little pipe dreams that there would be movies of this, or even a novel to follow it. I always wanted to do a comic book to go along with it, but then I was like, I really don't want to draw all of it. To pay someone else to do it.
Yeah, you might have to find someone to help you with that.
We did actually inquire about getting a film made, didn't we, with someone, but we never really took it anywhere. I think it was more of a cost implication.
We don't limit and see ourselves as just a band. We see ourselves as something a little bit more theatrical and visual. Music.
Now the story, Psychoberrie right now is locked up in Whittingham Asylum in England. It's an actual place that was locked down in the 90s, I believe. I know that there were some controversies in the 60s and the 70s about it. What drew you to that place as a setting of your story?
It's a local place of interest. So
yeah.
I think when we were trying to think of a band, it literally took about a year to think of a band name. Nobody could agree on anything. And one day I was just on the internet research. I knew roughly what the story was going to be about anyway, and then I was researching on the internet about the horrific abuse that took place. And it was on Ward 16, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. It was me and it was the original guitarist that we had. He left to join the army not so long later, but we actually went to Whittingham Asylum before it was knocked down, and obviously not supposed to be there, but we broke in, went wandering around. It was all derelict, all the stairs were falling through, but it was terrifying.
The only people that break into an asylum.
We got up on the second floor, and then we were using his telephone his mobile phone as a light, and the light just cut out. So we were on the second floor of this building where there was holes in the floor everywhere, and we'd like somehow got up these steps where all the stairs were falling through, and we had to make our way back out of this scary asylum in the pitch black. He was like screaming, holding my hand. We went to band practice the next day, and it was really weird because his guitar amp, it sounded like an old 50s radio just started coming through his guitar amp, and it just gradually got really, really loud and then faded back out, and me and him were just like, ah!
We've been asked a few times to do live stream gigs and things like that, but because what we wanted to do was to have our first almost presentation of the album, to be our launch gig, which is in January now. We don't want to do something before that and cheat the people that have paid to come see us. So we are going to be releasing a fourth single, maybe near Halloween. We've just got to really decide which one it is, really.
So we'll take your vote.
Yeah, so you said we've already done Margot, so I think Broken Toys should be it. So we'll add that to the list.
People that have seen the Bloodstock crowd all dance in a circle on an accordion beat and think that you guys are this upbeat party band might have a big surprise when they at least listen to the lyrics of the new album as well.
Well, certainly, and it's funny because a lot of people, I think it's a bit like, you know, the band Police, where they had that Every Step You Take, or Every Breath You Take, sorry, and people have had it as their wedding song and things like that. And
not
the
real
song is about a serial killer, or it's about a stalker. And people have said the same about, you know, Hold Me, that they've had it as a really emotional, significant song, you know. And actually, when you say it's written about, you know, a serial killer manipulating her victim into Stockholm syndrome. It takes it's not as sensitive as it sounds.
There's an evil in all of us. If you let it take control, it'll grab you by the throat and suffocate your soul. It's so easy to forget.
There's a lot of cool singles and videos to check out. There's a Ward 16 official Facebook page, and there's also the official website where every
there's the inmates page, which is just something that we like to talk to the people like us. We're all there talking. It's us talking to you, and it's us selling your merch and talking to you about the merch. There's no third party or other individual talking to people. It's all us, you know, because we love it. We love being part of the community, and you know, we feel really lucky that people like our music, but we also feel very lucky that we're part of a community that, like, you know, support fans and all.
And so we can look forward to, you know, obviously for everybody watching this video, more music coming, and Psychoberrie did say that more surprises were going to come as well, so that's exciting. And then hopefully we can, you know, see you guys soon on a stage when the world is in a better shape. I think you said you've got a gig planned for January at this time, so hopefully that can move forward.
And that gig will replay the whole album from start to finish, the whole storyline.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time today, and looking forward to all the reviews, the reactions, and all the fans getting their hands on the new music.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Alright, so if you like that video, click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.